Hi everyone. I said that my grandbaby and I would do a video probably Thursday, which was Thanksgiving, and unfortunately she was up all night Wednesday when she got here with me. I was up all night. She was throwing up most of the night. And she's 3 years old, almost 4 for those of you that don't know, and she's my little painting art buddy. But she threw up a lot during the night and didn't feel good Thursday. Started to feel a little bit better on Friday, but still not in the mood to paint. Then yesterday she wanted to paint a little bit, but it didn't last very long because she got tired. And today she had to go back to Illinois because that is where my daughter and her moved to. And she just comes here with me for different doctor appointments and to visit me because she was used to being with me every day, and now that they've moved, she doesn't have that same amount of time, so it's hard for her. So we try to get her to come back and stay for a few days to a week, once a month or so. So anyway, I apologize for no video. So what I did was ask her to pick some paints, and before she left, she actually helped stir some of these again. These were colors that she chose the other day, and that we used on something, or I used for her, and she wanted me to use these colors again. So we are going to do a little bit of a swirl today, sort of, kind of. I have not tried this yet, so whether it's a pass or fail, you're going to be seeing it. And the reason that I'm doing that is because we are going to have a contest. And the contest for the month of December, so from now until the end of December, we're going to be taking in different ways that you do swirls. Hopefully we can still tell that you use the swirl technique. So if you can post a video or photos of different points throughout your pour to show that it was the swirl, and then obviously the outcome of it at the end of your video while it's wet, and if you can, 24 hours to 48 hours later where it has dried so we can see that. And then everybody that comes to the YouTube page will be able to vote and say which one they think is the best one. So we're going to let you do the swirl in any way you want. Use anything you want, as long as it is still the swirl technique and that you can tell that was the intent. It doesn't have to look exactly like normal swirls or like a rose or an agate or geode or any of that other stuff. But there has to be some semblance of the technique there. So what I did for one of the pours my grandbaby wanted me to do, we used this as kind of like our pouring thing. All it is the top of a water bottle cut off, and it's that real thin plastic. And then we just take the lid off of it, obviously. And we're going to use that to pour into. And what I'm going to do is pour into this using the swirl technique, but it's going to pile up on here. And then hopefully when I release it, we'll still see some swirl technique, but in a different way. I don't know. In theory, it sounds great, right? Whether that's really going to work or not, I don't know. So what I am going to do is put some paint in a cup. And there was some paint, making sure these are dried. And they're dry enough. So I'm going to put some paint in these cups. And I'm going to start off with a little bit of the gold. I'm trying to remember the way my grandbaby said she wanted it done. There was a very specific way she had to have this poured, by the way. There's no silicone or alcohol or anything in this because that tends to create too many cells, which isn't always great for the swirl technique. It's kind of a cool effect sometimes, but there are times when you use too much of it, it just really eliminates it totally. So I I am going to fill this cup up, although I don't need that for these tiles. But I want to make sure I get colors that look nice, so if I have to continue to pour to get that, I'll have some already mixed up and ready to go. So hopefully that makes sense. So we're using my grandbaby's favorite colors. She said they look like a rainbow. So that's why she liked them. Okay, so we've got that mixed. I am now, if I can find my other stir stick, I'm just going to do one quick stir. And we'll leave that right there. And so all that's in this is paint, water, and Floetrol. And then in this water bottle is just a basic white house paint mixed with water and Floetrol. And I'm still going to put my white base down like I would for a standard swirl. And we'll just smooth it out. I don't know where my brush went, so I have to use this. So it's going to take an extra second. And, oops, sorry about that, I bumped the camera. And then remember, it's the same thing with the swirl. You want your base coat to be slightly thinner than the pour paint. You don't want it to be so much thinner that it's like too watered down, but you definitely want it to be thinner than your standard pour paint that you're using. I really don't normally like using my palette knife on tiles because there's some minor grooves on the side of tiles, and I just think a sponge or a paintbrush works better for me to get into those little crevices. So guys, the contest, what I'm talking about, I'll say once a month or so, because it just depends on what life brings our way. For any of you that have kept up with me, my grandbaby has some things going on. So that honestly is making it hard for me to focus or to feel very creative at all, to be honest, because I worry about her. We're very close. So it's, you know, it's a stress in my life, and that kind of takes away from my creativity. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. There's a point where when you're having a lot of stress in your life, that being able to escape with painting, drawing, pouring, photography, whatever else that you love to do, is a great distraction, and it helps. But there are certain things that you can't even allow yourself to be distracted, and the creativity just kind of leaves your body. So that's where I'm at with this. So between my dog having almost died numerous times several months ago from her vaccine, dealing with the manufacturer on that and them being very insulting, working with my dog to keep her alive for so many months, which she's doing well now, but you know, she could have a flare-up at any time. It's just been very exhausting. So I guess that's where I'm at. I haven't been drawing. I really haven't been doing much photography, and I love even just going out for a walk and taking photos of anything that kind of strikes me as unusual or appealing, I guess. So if I'm not doing that stuff, you know that there's stuff going on in life. So what we're going to do, though, is a contest. And for the month of December, like I said, we'll let people submit their version of a swirl. And it can be their own unique way of doing it, just so long as we can still tell that that technique, that was the primary technique used. Feel free to post your flops if you want to. I mean, that's still a good way for us to be able to learn from each other. But I'll let everybody decide who comes to the YouTube page, you know, who they feel the winner is. And the winner will post their video on YouTube or link to it for the following month. And then you'll get a 8x10 print of your choice out of, I'll do maybe 3 or 4 prints that are some favorites at the time. And you could choose one of those and I would mail that out to you. So hopefully that sounds fun. So let's use our creativity and come up with different ways that we may be able to do the swirl. So I'm actually going to start on this one, sorry. So I'm just going to put that in the middle. And I'm going to come on the other side so I don't have to do this left-handed. And I'm just going to try to swirl in the center of this without hitting the sides, which is going to be difficult because that's a very small area for someone with a handshake. But we're going to do it. And we're just going to let the paint pile up in there. I can tell already that might not turn out to be too much like a swirl. But we'll see. If not, we'll try again. Okay, so I'm letting that just set for a second. Settle a bit. Like I said, there's no silicone or dimethicone in there at all, but there is Floetrol in with the paint. Paint, Floetrol, and water. So we're going to see. I'm going to just pick this up and let it flow out and see if it retains any of those rings. It definitely shows a circular pattern a little bit. And there's some really fine lines. You probably can't even see it on the camera. Yeah, I'm not so sure you can even tell that that is. that was swirl. And we're going to try it again, and obviously this is going to be with different colors. So I'm just going to go right in here. Can you guys see it? Nope. I'll get on the other side again. And I'm going to just try to pour in the center again, which is very difficult, maybe with a wider opening on a canvas. So a larger bottle. I'll try that next, but on these tiles we needed something small. So you can see, you can kind of see the swirl in there. It's more swirled like a rose instead of like the perfect swirl that some people try to get. So if any of you want to swirl like a rose, don't do it in perfect circles necessarily, because roses aren't perfect. You can kind of see if you do a little bit of a wild swirl into the paint when you're pouring it around to the canvas or wherever, you're going to get that look of a rosebud. In order to get that, you really need to have a little bit of a rougher swirl, so you don't want it to be totally circular and just perfect as you pour, like you would do if you're trying to get that really nice clean ring look. So we'll see if any of this shows up. I rather like this, even though it has little resemblance to a swirl in there a bit, not as much as I would like, but around the edges you can see. But it's got this nice lacing or webbing. It's actually very pretty. So we'll see how that dries. It reminds me of ginger ale for some reason. Okay, now I'm going to lift this one up. And we'll see if that allows any of the swirl to come out. I think I want a little more paint on here. So, no harm, no foul. We're going to put a little bit more in there. Sorry, I'm going to do it from where I'm sitting. This is also really cool. Again, you can only see a little bit of the traces of the swirl around the edges, but you can tell it's there. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera. I hope you can. It looks like we need a little more white over on that edge. Sorry about that bump, guys. Now I might like this one even. We might have a technique here we can play with. So if we swirl into one of these, we pick it up, swirl half into it that you would normally do. You can kind of see where I filled it up to, hopefully on here with the shadow of the paint. So not a ton of paint. That was at the high end. So if you do half of that and swirl it out, let it set for a second, put it back on in the center, swirl again, it makes this really pretty flower petal pattern. Isn't that something? I'll be darned. This could be a really cute flower pattern if we can be consistent with it. But even in the center, when I report it, it puts like the center of a flower. And you can see each petal. I rather like that. And then again, we have some of this cool webbing. So this might be something we can really work with and do something cool with. Flowers and webbing is what we get. So I'm going to put this on pause real quick, and then I will give you a close-up while it's wet. And then I will come back and add a photo once it's dried for several hours so it's not moving. And then I'll post this video for everyone. So don't forget the contest. Start getting your ideas down. If you want to do this one, absolutely do it. Do it in a bigger form. Do it in a different way. Use the swirl in any creative way you want to. And as long as we can tell there was a swirl technique used, we're going to let whoever comes to the YouTube channel decide which one they think is more creative. As long as we can tell that the swirl technique was used. So hang on a second, guys, and I will be back with a close-up. Okay, guys, so here is, hopefully you can see it good enough. So we've got the center that looks like a flower. You can see the webbing on there. And then we have this one, which you can see a bit of the swirl technique on the outside edges, and then we have this cool webbing going on, lacing webbing. It's actually kind of cool. This one though, where I did it twice, I really like this. So I think I'm going to play with it, and hopefully we can get more out of it. So come up with different ideas, guys, and let's see your most creative swirl.